Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting panel discussion on writing a successful application for the Fulbright-Nehru Master's Fellowships. First of all, I welcome all the participants who have taken their thoughtful step towards their Fulbright journey. Just to ensure that I'm audible to all the participants, could you please use the questions box to either write yes, that I'm audible, or show thumbs up. Yes, great. I can see a lot of thumbs up coming up. Yay. Thank you so much. So I'm loud and clear. Great. Thank you. Okay, so it's going to be an exciting evening because we are joined by four panelists today. So I welcome all the panelists. Our panelists today are Ashwin, Pavani, and Aisha, and Sudarshan Dash from USIF. I request all the panelists to introduce themselves to the participants. So we'll start with Aisha. Aisha, can I request you to please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Aisha Datta. I was a participant. I'm very sorry. I was I was a Fulbright Fellow for the years 2022 and to 2023. I under the environment and climate change category. I went to Columbia University and studied climate change there at the Columbia Climate School. Um, Professionally, I'm a journalist. I currently work as a freelance journalist, writer, and an independent consultant for climate change related communications. So that's a little brief about me.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Ashwin?
So good day, everyone. I am Dr. Ashwin Belludi. I am currently working as a faculty in the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. I actually went to Johns Hopkins University to do my master's in public health in 2017. It was a 11-month course. And after I came back to India, I worked for the US government in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the US Embassy, Delhi. So, as far as the Fulbright experience is concerned, it was a great experience. We had an excellent opportunity to go through the curriculum in a subject which is very related to medicine, and we had a lot of things we have implemented back in our current work practices. And I was a public health specialist for a very long time, and the Fulbright program actually helped me improve my skills not only in public health but also in data management, in research analysis, everything. And ever grateful to the USIF for providing me opportunity for experiencing something totally different than the Indian academic system. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashwin. Pavni?
Hello everyone. Good morning from Cambridge here. And so I'm Pavani. I'm a life scientist by training, but an educator by passion. So I'm currently pursuing my master's in education leadership, organizations, and entrepreneurship with a focus in higher education from Harvard University. And in India, I worked at the intersection of policy and education, specifically higher education, working with the marginalized groups and the welfare department of Telangana state government. And for Fulbright, I don't have words to thank Fulbright because it has been a profoundly, impactful experience for me, both in terms of how I evolved as a person and as a professional during my Fulbright journey. So I thank the USIEF for providing me this opportunity, and I encourage all the participants to just give it a shot even if you have so many doubts about your selection and other processes. I think you have done the right step by joining this webinar.
Thank you so much, Pavni. Sudarshan?
Hello everyone, good evening, and thank you so much for joining this panel discussion today. My name is Sudarshan Das. I work as a senior program officer with the Fulbright Commission in India, here based in Delhi. I have been associated with this organization for over 19 years, and I oversee the administration of Fulbright-Nehru and other Fulbright fellowships for Indians to go to the US. Once again, thanks for joining today's session.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. And I'm Dr. Gayatri Singhal. I work as Indian Program Manager with USIF. I administer 4 fellowships, including the Fulbright-Nehru Masters Fellowships. So some of you may have received an email, some of you may have already attended our information session earlier, and we also had a panel discussion on April 21. You may have attended that. So Sudarshan and I have been available or, were present during these sessions as well. Um, Before I actually start the presentation, I request all of you to put your questions in the question box, the same box that you used to write yes. We will take 5 questions, around 5 questions at the end of the panel discussion. And I request all the participants to use this opportunity to address your questions related to strengthening or writing a compelling application for the master's fellowships by asking questions to the resource persons who are available here today. Avoid asking eligibility related questions, because for that you can always email us later or talk to us over the phone. So this panel discussion is specially designed to help the participants to focus and strengthen their essays, special components of the application such as essays, university preferences, letters of recommendation, and so on. So please remain focused to the theme of the session today in your questions. So what we will do is, I will spend a few moments to just recap on what is the Fulbright-Nehru Masters Fellowships, because there are changes in the fields of study. So I just want to make sure that participants understand in which fields we are offering the fellowship. And then we will focus on the significant components of the application form. Okay. So this year we are inviting applications. Right now the competition is open for 26-27 academic year, which means it is for the candidates who will begin their program in fall 26. It is not for those who are starting their program in fall 25 seeking funding for their second year of education. It doesn't work that way. Why I'm saying this is because I'm receiving a lot of queries from people who have got admission for fall 25 and are asking funding for their second year of the program. So please understand that our fellowships are only open for candidates who will begin their program in fall 2026. This year, our master's fellowships are offered in 8 fields of study, which are listed here. So please be aware, because the fields have changed from the last year. There are 2 important eligibility criteria which the applicants must remember. One, that as far as the educational or the academic requirement is concerned, the applicant must have either a 4 years of undergrad, such as engineering, architecture, medicine, or they should have, if they have a 3-year degree, then they should have either a master's or a postgraduate diploma. So they should have equivalent of a US bachelor's degree of 4 years. So that is an academic requirement. The applicant must also have 3 years of full-time professional work experience, a paid one, by the application deadline of May 14th. Somebody who has less than 3 years of experience is not eligible to apply this year. You should wait and probably apply next year if you think you still want to apply for the master's fellowships. May 14th is the application deadline, and that is a fixed application deadline. Please make sure that you submit your application much before May 14th. Don't wait for any auspicious moment, Shubh Muhurat on May 14th to submit the application. If your application is ready by May 10th, 11th, 12th, just submit it, okay? You have less than 20 days to work on your application. I'm assuming people who are attending the program today, all of you would have started your application already. So you are familiar with the application portal. It's an online application which you have to submit. I hope you have made yourself familiar with the application instructions. We design, or we write the application instructions when we also take a demo of the entire application form to make ourselves also familiar with the online application form completely, because each year there could be some revisions. So please download the application instructions, because they are going to be very handy as you work on different components of the application form. It is a detailed application and it does require time and patience while you write different sections of the application form. Applicants who are permanently employed with any organization and are seeking leave from their organization in order to participate in the program, if they are selected, should also submit employer's endorsement form. If you are someone who is either on a contractual position or is working as a freelancer, the contract is going to get over before you go on the program. If you are selected, then the employer's endorsement form is not mandatory. There is also an application checklist, which I strongly recommend that please do take a checklist, take a look at the checklist and make sure that before you submit the before you press the submit button, you have ticked everything that's in the checklist, tick, to ensure that you're submitting a complete application, because this fellowship is a competitive one and you want to make sure that you are submitting a clear, comprehensive, complete application to the reviewer. Now, they're going to be, as you start working on the application, there are going to be a lot of different sections, around 10 to 12, I would say, depending on whether you consider some sections which are going to seek factual information. For example, your personal information, your contact information, your academic background, your work history, where of course you have to just provide your factual information. There are going to be other sections which actually are going to require considerable amount of your time, and I would say a lot of thought goes into writing those sections of the application form. Again, my recommendation is please ensure that you're not leaving any column blank. Whatever is asked, provide as far as possible complete information in the application form. There is a plagiarism agreement which the applicant, all of you, must read carefully, understand, and then sign this agreement. USIF has a complete no acceptance towards plagiarism. So what happens is that the candidates who are nominated for the program, our partner agency will run the application of those nominated candidates through a software. And if a plagiarism is detected, then even at that stage, the candidate is barred from going on the Fulbright Fellowship. The candidacy is rejected for the Fulbright program. So please ensure that if you are quoting any work, then you use the right kind of acknowledgement in any of your essays or anywhere. So do not plagiarize. Second, the reviewers or the committee members want to know who you are. They want to read your Fulbright story. They want to understand you, your goals. And therefore, it is very important that when you are writing your application, be original, be authentic, be genuine. And AI cannot tell you who you are. It's you who has to determine who you are. So please do not take help of AI in writing your application, because that will again have a detrimental effect on your application. Now, let's look at the main components of the application. Before we do that, I have a question for the panelist. Okay, so I'm going to ask this to all our three panelists. We will start with Pavni, then we will have Ashwin, and then Asia. So, Pavni, tell us, why do you think that the Fulbright selection panel selected you over other candidates? What was your unique selling point or USP? Over to you, Pavni.
Uh, Thanks, Gayatri. It's a difficult question, but I'll try to answer what I think helped me. First, I think what stood out in my application is how I demonstrated leadership, uh, taking initiative in whatever role I was in, because I've moved like two, three different roles in my brief professional journey. And at every level, regardless of where I was in the hierarchy of the organization, I was able to demonstrate that initiative and take leadership. And I think I communicated that in the application. And since Fulbright is for people who have demonstrated leadership. I think that helped. And the second thing I think is that I was very specific in showing how Fulbright could help me more. Uh, I like not presenting vague or broad ideas, and but I think I've highlighted clear gaps in what I was doing, what was there a gap, and how this Fulbright experience could fulfill that and give me that opportunity. So I was honest about those specific learnings that I can gain from the program. And finally, I believe, as you said, authenticity really matters. They should know, like they would look forward to knowing who you are. So I stayed true to my story, and then I didn't try to sound like perfect. I've got everything under control and something like that. But instead, I let my passion and commitment to education shine through in my application. So I think because the panel sees so many great candidates, it's important for us to be like real and self-aware when we are writing that application. And I think because I did all that, maybe panel also saw that and it worked.
Thank you, Pavli. Ashwin, what was your uniqueness in the application?
So the first thing is that the application is the only document where the judges or whatever evaluators will judge the entire totality of you or what you want to know. So you need to demonstrate that the past education qualifications, the present work, and your future thought process are very clear. And the other important thing is that you should be very clear on what you will do after the Fulbright program with the degree, everything. One important thing is that I had, being a physician, then being a virologist, everything, I translated it to public health. So the moment you see medical people, they always think they're confined to the hospital most of the time. But I had a lot of work in public health stream, and I had also pitched in a detailed what is it future plan of what I want to do after I would come back to India. So what is distinguishing is that very few public health specialists have uh, a background in infectious diseases. And the other important thing is that what is your vision for the next 5 to 10 years after you give your degree. Okay, that is all judged in your application because no evaluator or no USF representative will call you in between to know more about you. It's just your application, which will be like a document which will holistically capture what you are and what you want to be. So that's the one unique feature. Of course, competition will always be there. So if competition is different every year because the other competitors may be from a different field, different background, they may have a different thought process. I think. The other important thing I would like to tell you is that you should be clear. You should take a lot of time in carefully writing the application. Okay, there's plenty of time to start and complete the application. So this I think I went through almost 45 days of writing the application slowly because in between the professional life and travel everything. So it's very important that you carefully judge what you have to write and then fill in the application.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashwin. Asia, you're a journalist, you are applying in the field of environmental science. So how did you know, communicate to the panel that, hey, listen, I'm the right candidate for the Fulbright?
Oh yeah, so okay, first of all, this is an incredibly difficult question because I don't think I still know why I was selected. So a very, very hard question. Um, but even harder is the fact that I applied because I genuinely wanted to study again. But I really, at that time when I was applying, I thought I was the least likely candidate to be selected, to be very honest. And there were several reasons behind that. One is my age. I had already been working not for 3 years, but for almost 12 years at that time. So, in terms of age, I felt like I may not be the appropriate candidate. I may be seen as too old to pursue it. There may be questions about why is she even wanting to do another master's at this age. Um, And the second reason was I wanted to do a STEM course. And my previous academic background had nothing to do with science, mathematics, statistics at all. My undergraduation was in English literature. I then went on to do a post graduation in journalism, and now I suddenly wanted to study climate science, and that is an incredibly challenging field to study. So I thought that I may not be seen to be an appropriate candidate. So having said that, the only thing in my mind at that point was just be authentic, be real about why I even want to do it. What I think in hindsight helped me was the professional experience I had gained by that time and the consistency with which I had been working on my goal. I had always been, almost since the beginning of my career, I had been writing on climate change and environment. I believe I have displayed a certain amount of understanding and expertise in my subject in climate change and understanding the science behind it. So I was not seen as so, which was reflected in the work samples that I also provided with the application. Um, and to be honest, it was, I think, authenticity in the application, being clear about why you are wanting to apply for this particular program. Why is it important for you to, why can't you do it within the country? Why do you even have to go to the US? Why is Fulbright important for that experience? And I was certain about why all of that was required. And as Ashwin said, also, I also had a certain amount of clarity about what I wanted to do with the knowledge and the experience that I gain from the Fulbright journey once I come back. Uh, that may change. Your plans always change, but at least you have some understanding of why you are wanting to pursue this particular extremely competitive fellowship. I hope someday, Gayatri, I'm going to grill you about that, but I hope um, that some of these reasons were why I was selected.
Right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Aisha, Pavni, and Ashwin. And in fact, this actually brings us to the main component of the application form, because all of you have been talking about, why you want to apply for Fulbright, what is it that you want to study in the US, what are your professional goals for next 5 to 10 years, and how does your idea of doing a master's in a specific field at a specific US university aligns with your professional goals. So study objectives is an important component of the application form, and this is one of the two essays where all the participants, all of you are going to spend considerable amount of your time. We strongly recommend that you write various drafts of these essays, study objectives, and a personal statement. You write them at different times of the day, because sometimes when you get up in the morning with your cup of tea, you might get some fantastic idea, eureka, and then you want to write that in the application, I mean, for your essay. Maybe towards the end of the day, while you're watching a movie or you're talking to your friend, suddenly another idea clicks, what you want to highlight in your study objective. So be genuine, be very specific when you're writing your study objectives. But more than that, let's hear from Pavni and Aisha, that what were three very important points that you considered when you started writing your study objectives essay. Pavni.
Uh, Thanks, Gayatri. So, study objectives. First, I would say that take time to critically reflect on the work that you have already done. As Gayatri mentioned, we are all professionals. Like whoever is applying, we have minimum 3 years of work experience, and some of us, like Isha, has like 12 years of work experience. So when you've been working for so long in a certain segment or an industry, it's difficult to get the time to sit and reflect. Like, okay, what I've done, what are my plans, and what am I going to do for the next 5, 10 years of my career. So I would say the first step is to sit, take the time, and critically reflect on the work that you have already done. This will help you to identify what are the gaps. Like, okay, what has been working so far, and where are the gaps in my work experience, like what can I do better. So once you have those gaps, once you identify those gaps, then you can map them to specific courses and programs and experiences in the US that you could gain from your Fulbright master's experience. For example, I was very specific that I want to be working in higher education administration, and I knew what are the challenges. Like, okay, there is very little knowledge about organizational governance in higher education institutions in India. I don't see anybody who is knowledgeable in that. Like, there was no other program that could teach me that in India. So I had to go to the US, and that too only to Harvard University or only to Stanford to study that program. I remember mentioning even about little details like the forum discussions that happen at Harvard. Like, we have Ask With forums where they discuss like emerging issues in education. So I even mentioned that in my application, and how those discussions with leaders, thought leaders in the field could actually shape my thinking about how I approach my work. So that critical reflection on the work that you're already doing, what are the gaps, and how these specific programs and experiences map or can bridge that gap is very important. And the second is, it's a Fulbright exchange program. It's not like, it is an exchange program. Just remember the word exchange, because you have to be careful about striking the balance between what you hope to gain from the program and also what you could contribute as a professional. Because I think often we forget that when you're seeking or applying for a fellowship, you imagine that, okay, what can I gain from it? Okay, this would be helpful for this, or I can do this and that. But you should also have to mention in your application what you can contribute as a professional working in a certain field in a country like India. What can I bring to the classroom? How can I enrich those discussions that are happening in the classroom? I think that is very important, and I don't want you to skip that in the application. So focus on your expertise and perspective while highlighting your potential. And the last point is, like always, as Ashwin and Isha were telling, you connect your study objectives to your long term goals very, very clearly. Like, don't be vague. Explain clearly how these programs would help you or equip you to design the solutions that you aim to design back home in our community, and show that clear vision in how you would apply that learning after returning home. I think if you stick to like these 3 points, it's easy for the panel to understand your story and to evaluate how this program would help you.
Thank you, Pavdi. Aisha, how did you go about writing this essay? Three things.
Um, right. So for me, as I mentioned previously, I thought I was not the ideal candidate. So for me, the study objective was a great place where I could show why I was the right candidate, why I made for a good candidate. That is where I could show. Personal statement is one thing, but the study objective is where I could show my professional goals, my professional trajectory, and what I bring to the table. So it was, I think, if you have anything that you see as a negative in your application, whether it's a gap year, whether it's the fact that your objectives seemingly are not connected to your existing professional career or academic career, is there a way for you to show why it all blends together, why it becomes seamless? So for me, that is where the study objective came into play. Um, I clearly try to direct the study objective in drawing the connections between what I have done up until now and why, as a journalist, it's important for me to have the appropriate knowledge of climate sciences, not just the ability to write, but to the ability to take very dense data, very dense science, and be able to communicate it in a manner which is easy to digest for people. Um, that is where it came into play. So first of all, it's a good place to highlight your positives. Uh, and also for me, also to highlight my negatives. So that's two things, highlighting the positives that I bring to the table and highlighting the negatives, potential negatives, and sort of explain that information gap. The third thing was I was very clear about what kind of courses I wanted to apply for. I did not just want to study climate science. I also wanted a course which was a blend of science, policy, and society because it aligns with the work that I do. None of these factors are segregated. They do not work in their own individual um, spheres. They all blend together. But the important factor is to see how they blend together and how they come together. So which is why I wanted to study at Columbia, because the course that I selected was very heavy on climate science, climate data, statistics, but it had an element of policy, it had an element of society, it had an element of climate justice, which I was very, very interested in. And this brings me back to why it is your objectives for what you're going to do when you come back. Because climate justice and policy are so tied to our part of the world, what we are facing on a global scale, that for me it was important to understand that. And it's also important for me, it was also important to have that global perspective in how everyone else sees these discussions and these debates. Um, which allowed me to again highlight why the Fulbright journey and experience was important for my future career and growth. Which also I highlighted in the study objectives about being able to connect not just with climate scientists but also people from other sectors. So
Yeah,
these are some of the points that I kept in mind.
right. Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you, Pavni, for your uh, you know, three valuable points for writing the study objectives. Now let's move to the second essay, personal statement, which is about you, your story. And now let's hear from Ashwin and Pavni. How did you prepare the outline for this specific essay? Ashwin.
So the first thing I began to analyze is that why I did medicine, then what took me to the infectious disease stream, and then what are the burning problems in India, and how do you want to address those problems. So I connected all the dots all along the way, and what is your vision after you come back to do that? Come back to India after the Fulbright program using the Masters in Public Health program. So when I went through that, there were a lot of drafts which I wrote, then refined the draft. Then each day, as Gayatri mentioned, there'll be a lot of different thinking processes which will come through. But one thing I would like to uh, clearly mention is that the personal statement does take quite a significant time to write. The other important thing is that it is one of the sections of the entire application where a comprehensive, holistic view of your previous life or previous work experience, everything is uh, in a nutshell is captured. And the other thing that you can also highlight is that any significant contribution you made in bringing upward change in the society or change in the nature of work practices you do, that all was highlighted in the personal statement.
Thank you, Ashwin. Pavni?
Yeah, Gayatri. So I'll be honest here. My first draft when I wrote my personal statement, I felt like I'm writing an autobiography. Okay, it had all the events and details, everything that happened, and then once I read that, I was like, why am I telling this story? What is the message here? So once I asked those questions, I think that actually changed the way I approached my personal statement. And then what I did was I started identifying key events from my life, uh, values and lessons that they taught me, and how more importantly, like how they changed or shaped my professional identity, and how those events brought out or made me commit to education, the cause that I'm so passionate about. And so then I understood that it was not just telling a story, my story. It was about showing how that lived experiences translated into a cause that is worth giving a shot at this Fulbright chapter. Or it's a big step for somebody, like as Isha mentioned. Like, I also have a unusual experience. Like, I have a PhD in life sciences. I was a scientist and then faculty member, and then going back to a master's classroom after like almost like your PhD and 5 years of work experience working at the state level. It's important for the panel to understand, why are you doing that? Is it worth, like, why are you taking this break in this point of your career to pursue this? I think that's more important, and in the personal statement should be able to tell that story, like how different events or in your life has contributed to this particular step in your journey. So and I brainstormed a lot with friends and got feedback, and it was like, I think I took more than like 2 months to keep revising my personal statement. I kept writing drafts again and again. I would revisit it like after 3-4 days of time so that I can approach it with a fresh mind. But every draft, one thing I'm sure, that it was always authentic. The only thing that changed with every draft is how I presented the story. And then again, I focused on why this opportunity, why now at this point in my career, why not next year or a couple of years later. And then so I sort of let those questions guide the whole structure in my personal statement. And then also, what I really wanted to highlight was, or the panel to see, was like not just what I've done, but the way how I think, the way how I work and lead is because of who I am. Like how my identity is shaping the way that I approach my work. I think I want the panel to see that, because we all have our unique stories, but there is also a common thread among all of us, right? That connect to bigger causes and bigger issues. I wanted the panel to see that balance of my unique story or my unique perspectives, and also the common threads of like how common, like groups or commonalities in us can lead to sometimes bridges for that collective action. And finally, as I told you, like Fulbright is about connecting networks and people who are united, like commit to change the world. Okay, so my personal statement, I think it not only conveyed my own journey, but it also like created that space of having that shared purpose to contribute or work for a better world. And so the story, ultimately what happens is, when you bring out that, it feels like, I know it's difficult to balance, but it's about you, but at the same time not just about you, but also what you represent, what you bring to the community. I think these are the points that I like thought a lot about when I was making my personal statement.
Thank you so much, Pavni. Sudarshan, you have observed so many selection panels, committee meetings over so many years. What does the panel look for in both these essays?
Thanks, Gayatri. The very first thing is that present yourself in such a way that the reviewers and the selection committee members will take interest in reading your essays. They should not feel compelled to read your study objective or personal statement. So the presentation should be in such a way that there should be consistency and there should be a flow of the thought. Hence, for the study objective, it is always a good idea to start with providing the context. You can start with providing the background, the importance of your proposed study, and also the problem statement. Take, for example, if you are applying in the field of environment or sustainability, it should be quite desired that the very first paragraph should highlight the challenge that you want to study in your field. Take, for example, I can take the example of Esa's statement. She highlighted how environmental degradation leads to displacement. That is statement, and that is the problem statement that she wants to highlight. So the reviewers and the selection committee members get a clear idea. Yes, there is something that this applicant is planning to look at, and there is a clarity of thought. So the problem statement and the background is very important. Do not spend too much of space there. Even 4 to 5 lines of text should be fine. Little bit of starts to support your claim will be sufficient. The second point I would like to highlight in context of study objectives is the nature of the things that you want to investigate. That means you can take 3 or 4 or maximum 5 objectives that you would like to highlight as a part of your study plan. Again, in context of if you are applying for environment or sustainability, what is it? Are you looking at the ecological aspects? Are you looking at environmental degradation? Are you looking at deforestation? Are you looking at biodiversity? Are you looking at displacement and the challenges of food security in context of present developments? You can take 4 or 5 such study objectives and highlight that why you want to do or focus on these areas as a matter of your research topic as a part of your master's degree program. The other aspect that I would like to highlight, always give some instances when you are talking about large concepts or study objectives. Give some instances to showcase that how connected you are with the ground reality. Again, I will take the example of ESA's proposal. ESA, if you can remember, you had taken the example of Meheru Nisa, the lady who was displaced from Bangladesh to Delhi, and during your interaction, you came to know that agriculture is no more sustainable. It is no more a means to support their livelihood. These are small things that gives the impression to the reviewers and the selection committee members that yes, you are connected with the ground realities. You know what is happening. You are committed for a particular cause. So in your background statement as well as your objectives that you elaborate, please give a few instances. Otherwise it will seem superfluous that you are just talking about big ideas and you are not connected with the ground realities. The third point in context of study objectives, I will highlight that your potential to contribute to the program. Pavani has already spoken about it. When you are going, particularly for Indians, there is a big expectation. The bar is very high there. What you can contribute in the classroom? What is some of your best practices? What is your experience? Take some case studies. Again, you have limitation of space, but please highlight that what you can contribute to the classroom. The fourth point in context of study objectives that the reviewers and the selection committee members generally look forward to will be your research interest. As you know, now in the US classroom, there is a, or even the master's program level also, there is a big thrust on research. Because what happens, the research question is very important in context of the masters, even at the undergrad level also research is happening. So your aptness for research in context of your study objectives should also somehow come out in your proposal. The fifth point I would like to highlight is that also please see that what is happening around the larger issues and challenges, and also how it is impacting the humanity. So you will give the impression to the reviewers and the selection committee members that you are not just confined to your narrow area of research, rather you are aware about the larger issues and challenges. So these are the 5 points I would like to highlight in context of study objectives. In context of personal statement, again, 5 points I would like to highlight, and some of these points are already discussed by our panelists. The very first thing is that the belief and commitment. Fulbrighters are seen as change agents. You are not doing things just for the sake of taking a course. You are doing it because you believe in something. You believe that displacement is happening because of environmental degradation. That is something you have to showcase in your personal statement, and you stand for that. And what you have done in this context, that is very important. The second point is motivation to pursue the chosen field. That means you have to connect all these points, that you how you are motivated to do a particular program. Also, in the personal statement, please highlight that how you have come out of some of the challenges in your life. Everyone will have some challenges in their life. So, how you have faced that challenge? What is your learning point? That will be a great thing to present as a part of your personal statement. All the three of our panelists have highlighted the role of leadership. That means how you have worked in your life as a change agent. It may be at a very small scale, but if you have done something which has brought some changes at the social level, please highlight those as a part of your personal statement. The fifth point I would like to highlight, that Fulbrighters are seen as cultural ambassadors. So how you are open to learn about the US culture and share your culture. Your openness is very important. You will be not just confined to the classroom. So, in your personal statement, you have to demonstrate that you are strong at networking. You may go there for a year or 2 years, but you are looking forward to build lifelong connections. So, these are the 5 points I would like to highlight in context of your personal statement. Again, please try to connect that how your study objectives are reflected in your personal statement. That means you are committed for a particular cause, and you are looking forward to make some changes in that particular field. That's all from my side. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. And as you rightly said, that how do you bring that balance between both these essays is something which is very important. A lot of applicants reach out to us, as well as Sudarshan and I when we read their applications. Sometimes the connection is missing. Sometimes the flow of thought between both the essays is missing. The balance is missing. Sometimes the way applicants write these essays, it's a very different study objectives, and it's a very different personal statement. So the committee fails to connect that, okay, it's the same individual who's talking about study objectives and personal statement. So it's very important to balance your thoughts yourself in both these essays. So let's hear from Asia and Ashwin. How did you ensure that both these essays are different, yet there is a harmony, there is a balance in the essays? Asia.
Uh, I think for me, I almost treated the study objective as uh, or either way, you can look at it either way. I treated them as an extension of each other. Um, I treated the personal statement as my place to talk about my personal motivation, my journey, on a very personal level, whether that's from childhood to the challenges you faced in life. But everybody faces challenges in life, but they have to be connected to the reason why I am doing what I am doing today, and why I'm applying for Fulbright Fellowship. It can't just be a disaggregated challenge just to, it's not a place for me to evoke sympathy. It's a place for me to highlight the ability to come out of a challenge. So I treated the personal statement as my place for talking about my personal motivations, and the study objectives as an extension, almost in an analytical way of treating the professional motivation and how my personal and professional come together. So, and maybe it is because I'm a writer. I'm probably better at writing than I'm at speaking. So it was easier for me to tie those ends in those two statements. It worked for me that I had it almost worked because I had more space to in terms of word count, I had more space to explain my point of view. Um, yeah, and as Gayatri, you mentioned that it is when in my first drafts, I almost felt like they were to disaggregate pieces of work. It almost, my first drafts, they felt like the study objective was fine on its own. The personal statement was fine on its own. But then when I sat back and read them back to back, I was like, but why am I writing these two particular things? There's a reason why the committee should have must have asked me for both a personal statement and a study objective. There's a reason why they're wanting to see you as a person, and as a professional, and most importantly, because Fulbright, as Pavni earlier mentioned, is an exchange program, but it is also very deeply rooted in humanitarian work and language. There's a reason why you have certain categories of studies that you are applying for, and not just say management or an MBA as a whole. It's very deeply rooted to what the society needs. Um, so it was a wake-up call in that sense to write a first draft, write a second draft, go back to it, read about it, see why you do what you do. For me, for instance, as a journalist, nobody becomes a journalist to become rich. Um, I mean, if you want to become rich, you should not become a journalist. So there's an obvious personal reason why you have chosen your professional goals. Um, so I try to highlight these factors in my personal statement and my study objectives.
Thank you, Aisha. Ashwin, what was your strategy to establish balance between these essays?
So the first thing is that study objectives is something that is highly focused. You can't write a long story about entire thing. And the personal statement, you would have written many things about your life and how did you come here, how did you go about achieving a lot of things in life, everything. So the study objectives are highly focused and something that would reflect on the personal statement, but it is highly condensed. It should be focused in the area where you can bring a materialistic change to the society, or probably to the some part of the in our case the patient clientele which we have. That was the first thing. The second thing is that initially I had broadened the entire aspect to include a lot of things, but I narrowed down upon continuous review everything, and I also thought about what is the realistic challenges which we are facing, and what is the area where I need to concentrate while writing the research objectives. Especially in my case, it was about encephalitis, which is very prevalent in a lot of North Indian states, and I highlighted that particular point during the study objectives. And in the personal statement, I written how I matured myself from being just a general physician to a infectious specialist who is working in public health field. So it is bit hard to write the study objectives because the it is a highly condensed. It should be highly focused, and you should uh, choose areas where you can bring about materialistic changes. And part of the personal statement does contribute to the development of the study objectives in terms of being focused in your area of strength.
Thank you, Ashwin. Now let's look at the next part of the application form, which is the university preferences. Even though the main application form states that the section is not mandatory, however, for Indian applicants, this section is mandatory. So all the applicants have to complete their US university preferences. Let's hear from Sudarshan. Sudarshan, why do you think that the panel is interested to know where does the applicant want to study in a specific field?
The most important factor is that the panel would like to see that your study objectives are matching with the host institution specialization. That is very important. Hence, please do not select your host universities just on the basis that you want to study at a high ranked institution. That is not the justification. When you are giving the preferences of the US universities, you are required to give a justification for your choices. And there you have to give the justification completely based on your academic need. Hence, please do extensive study and research in finalizing your host university preferences. Some of the institutions specialize on some aspects of a particular field. Take, for example, if you are going in the field of higher education and you want to focus two or three areas, maybe quality in higher education, or finance in higher education, or governance in higher education. Look for some of the institutions or universities who are specializing in that field. So choose your institutions based, once again I am highlighting, based on your study objectives, and that's what the reviewers and the selection committee members emphasize. Unfortunately, most of the applicants, they give the justification based on the ranking of the universities. They say that I want to go to a top ranked institution, but that institution may not be top ranked in your area of specialization or the area of your focus. When you are giving the justification for each of your choice, here in this column you can give reference to particular professors under whom you would like to do your specific intense area of study. Take, for example, once again I am taking the higher education as a field. If you want to take governance as your specialization, and if you want to go to a particular institution, you should also say that in that university a particular professor has specialized in the field of governance and with whom you would like to work. In this column it's okay to name the professors, but in your study objective and your personal statement, do not name any institution or any professor there. The other point I would like to highlight is that why preferences are so important. The reviewers and the selection committee members would also look for diversity, because we are seeing that most of our applicants, they are just concentrated to a few institutions, either Harvard or Columbia or a few quote unquote top ranked institutions. Please do not fall into that type of trap. There is nothing wrong in going to a high ranked institution, but always see that if that is the best place for you from your study objective point of view. And that makes a big impact in the review and the selection committee, when they are reviewing the applications. I can tell you that we send the applications at least 3 weeks prior to the selection date. So the reviewers read your application, each component of your application very carefully, and they always see that whether you are choosing an institution based on your academic need or you are just getting into the trap of rank of the institutions and choosing that. I think I will stop here, but the message is very clear. Please do enough research. Choose your institution based on your academic need. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. Now let's look at another component of the application form, which is the reference reports, recommendation letters, or letters of reference. So the application form will ask you to submit 3 letters of reference. Please look at the application instructions on how do you complete the section on the reference reports. 3 important things which you must keep in mind. One, carefully choose your 3 referees who can highlight your different skill sets. We will have our panelists elaborate on this. Second, talk to your referees, give them, spend some time with them, give them your recent resume, give them, if possible, a little blurb or some thoughts on why you're applying for Fulbright, and have a good discussion with them so that they can also bring in your strengths, but more importantly, they can vouch for your candidacy for the Fulbright program. If any referees request that you know yourself, why don't you write your reference report? I'll be happy to sign. That's a big signal to move to another referee. Please do not do that. Please do not, write your own reference report. You know why. I don't have to elaborate on that. Third, the reference reports also must be submitted online by May 14th. So while you are writing your application today itself, if you haven't done that, today itself, reach out to your referees, complete the reference report section, send them an email, and ask them to complete the online recommendation letter as soon as possible. Everybody is busy, and you want to ensure that they submit your reference reports much before May 14th. Now let's hear from Pavni and Aisha. Pavni, Aisha, what factors did you consider when you were selecting your referees? You had one academic reference. Did you look at professional reference because you had considerable work experience? Who were the people who you selected? So what was going on your mind when you were looking at the list of people who could be your potential referees? Pavni.
Thanks, Gayatri. So I didn't have academic reference because my the only person who I could go to was my PhD supervisor, and she was no more. So I had to lean on all three professional for references. So, but what I did was, I think while selecting my references, I was very intentional about making sure that they brought complementary perspectives. Not just repeating the same points that one person would say, like about me in all their three references, but together, if you put them, like all three references can give me a like or can give the panel a complete picture of who I am as a professional and also as an individual. So for example, one referee was someone in a very like senior leadership position in the organization, who could objectively speak about my accomplishments, results, and the scale of the work that I led at the organization. So, and that reference was important because it carried weight, uh, and they had enough distance to assess and vouch for the outcomes that I delivered. They can guarantee, like they can vouch for the results that I led and the projects that I've led. And then the second reference was someone that I worked very closely with, someone close to me in the hierarchy, so that they observed me on a daily basis, someone who saw how I work, how my decision making processes, and how I collaborate with my team, how I adapt and push through challenges on a daily basis. So they could speak to the nuances of my working style, not just what I did, but how I did and what was behind in what went in achieving those results or accomplishments. And the third person I chose, I wanted somebody to be out of my organization, but still a professional collaborator, that who has seen me lead under real project conditions when we were collaborating on a project. Like for example, though that referee was able to stand out, or they were able to speak to my other skills outside the organization and the project, like how was my creativity, how was my leadership style, and how I stood up or stood out in a group of highly competent peers within the organization that they were already collaborating with, and why they liked or preferred working with me, or what they liked about my personal working style. So they so that reference actually helped validate my qualities on how my qualities played out in a team setting, and also what mattered for the Fulbright context. So overall, to give you like a summary, I chose people uh, based on what they can talk about me as a professional and as a person, but not just because of their titles or proximity. Oh, this man is like very popular, maybe I should get a reference from them. No, that is like the wrong approach. Instead, you can choose to go to people who can showcase different dimensions of your personality, values, and the professional impact that you made in your career so far. That was my strategy for choosing the references.
Thank you so much, Pavni. Asia, what was your mechanism of shortlisting your referees?
Thanks, Gayatri. So, like Pavni, I did not choose any academic references. For the reason for that was simple. The last education experience I had was more than a decade before that, and I could have reached out to some of my professors to write an academic reference, and they would have been very happy to do so. But it's also a fact that I had not been in very deep or direct personal contact with them for a while, and they would not have seen uh, their experience of my journey over more than a decade would have been slightly unclear. So I was quite certain that a reference letter from them would potentially sound formulaic, which is something that I wanted to avoid. So I did not approach any of my previous professors for a reference. I chose all three professional referees. Um, Again, because since I became a Fulbright Fellow, I have had a lot of people ask me for help with their applications, help with their referees, etc. Very often, I see a trap. People will select people with grants titles, like Pavni said, that's something to avoid. The CEO of XYZ company, the director of XYZ organization, the editor of your newspaper. Uh, and that sounds great on paper. On technical terms, you would think that would hold a lot of weight, and I'm sure it probably does. But for me, I wanted to avoid that. I did select somebody who is really high up, an editor, because but mostly because he actually liked my work. He actually thought my work was worth it, not because of his title per se. So I chose him because of the value that his uh, experience of working with me and guiding me through my professional experience was, and how positive it was towards me. So but he's still a little bit removed from my direct work line because he's an editor after all. So he would guide on a superficial basis. So it almost gives a third person perspective on that in that sense. So that was one. The second one was somebody I worked with who actually gave me my third job, uh, and someone I work with on a direct level every day, um, and who knew me on a personal and professional level very deeply, whose judgment and whose opinions I really, really value till date, even though we are not working together anymore. I really value his point of view. So he could speak to the work that I do on a daily basis, my leadership skills, my leadership qualities, the work that I bring, my ability to analyze data, my ability to analyze science. He was able to do all of that. And the third referee, fortunately or unfortunately, all of my referees are very close to me personally. But my third referee, I think, is someone that I'm closest to on a personal basis. She's almost like a mother figure to me because of the number of years that we had worked together and how closely we have been involved in each other's lives. And she could bring an element of personal touch to the references, um, talking about my value systems, my personal characteristics, which then give a lot of which kind of lead to where I am on a professional basis. So the third person I chose was it my reasons for choosing my referees was very intentional um, about what I hoped that they would bring. I did not specifically ask them to do that, but because I knew them and their judgment of my work well enough, I think they would have eventually fallen into place the way I hoped they would.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Sudarshan, how what role do these reference reports play in the selection process? And if you could actually tie it up with the selection criteria for the participants.
Absolutely. So, just wanted to highlight a few points regarding the letter of reference. The letters of reference are vital components of the application, and the reviewers and the selection committee members read those letters of reference very carefully, and they play a vital role in the selection process. Your application is all about everything that you speak about yourself. The letters of reference are about how you are perceived by three persons who know you closely over a few years. Hence, that matters a lot. So please give complete free hand to your referees to write what they want to say. Do not influence them. Do not say that please give me outstanding in all parameters. That is not ethical, and that does not give a complete picture. Even if your referees say that there are two or three areas where you need to improve, that really strengthens your letter of reference rather than weakens it. That does not weaken your application, I must tell you. That rather gives lots of insight to the reviewers and the selection committee members to know you. And there is always room for improvement. Your referees are essentially going to highlight 4 or 5 points. They should speak about your ability to complete the proposed degree program from the academic point of view, from the professional point of view, and also, most importantly, from your networking point of view. So please share your study objectives, your bio, as well as your personal statement with them so that they should know what you are speaking in your application. But never write a draft letter of reference and ask them to sign. That is unethical and unacceptable also. The other part, the reviewers would like to know your leadership skills. That what type of changes you have brought in the society or in the area that you are working. That is from somebody who is closely observing you. So the leadership aspect, the impact aspect is should be highlighted in the letter of reference. Your resourcefulness, your ability to work and study in a new environment, your dynamism are the other factors the reviewers always look forward to know from the referees. As most of our experts today mentioned, that the Fulbright program is not just an educational exchange program, it's an educational and cultural exchange program. So your ability to represent India in the US, that is very important because you will be meeting people from all walks of life. So the reviewers and the selection committee members would like to know from your referees that how you are open minded, how you are going to represent India, how you are going to speak about India objectively, keeping your personal bias aside. Those are the points are very important, and the reviewers would like to know all these things from the persons who are writing letters of reference from on in support of your application. The other few points that I would like to highlight, the reviewers and the selection committee members work based on several objective criteria. We want to minimize subjectivism, subjective aspects in the review process and the selection process. So we provide clear-cut guidelines to the reviewers and the selection committee members, and they follow these criteria while they read your application, or if you are shortlisted, they interview you. And these are some of the factors that you can see on your screen. And I would like to highlight, I'll just take 2 minutes more to highlight some of these aspects. And I would like to request you to take a note of these and keep these in mind when you are developing your application. The very first factor is academic credentials and professional ability. It's not about the percentage of mark. We do not judge you or your academic credentials from your percentage of mark. Rather, we see about the impact that you have done. It could be any sorts of academic activity. It could be publication or other things. I'll just give you a few examples in context of ESA's application. The three articles ESA that you presented as a part of your application were so impressive and which was really pertinent in context of your proposal. The very first one was Uttarakhand's ghost village, your study about how displacement is happening some of the villages in Uttarakhand. The displacements that are happening in Gujarat because of environmental degradation. And the other aspect that you highlighted is by 2050, the climate change will displace 40 million people in South Asia, and India is not ready for that. So these are some of the factors that show that your academic activities are really identifying some of the issues and challenges, and you are actually working or trying to identify those aspects. Your professional ability, any changes that you have brought through your professional capacity, it is beyond your job responsibility. It is more about your commitment. Need to pursue the master's degree program in the US, need statement is very important. Most of the applicants, they just take it for granted. Please note that the reviewers and the selection committee members would like to know from you that why you want to go to the US. Pavni highlighted this point, that why there is a need for her to go to the US for this particular study at this point in time, and what she will do in next 5 years. Need statement, that means you should be very clear why there is a need for you to go to the US. The third point is about once a Fulbrighter, always a Fulbrighter. That means you are a Fulbrighter for the lifetime. So you will be actually, the reviewers and the selection committee members would like to know what is your plan for at least next 5 years, how you are going to implement some of your study or the learnings that you did in the US. It should be actually in the line of your goal, your future plan for next 5 years. So please highlight what you want to do and how you will implement some of your learnings back in India, at least for next 5 years, your action plan. The next factor, motivation and seriousness. We are looking for people who are really motivated for this program. They should have a story behind that, why they want to go for the master's program. So your seriousness, your maturity, your cultural adaptability, these are something must be reflected in your proposal. Your ability to become a cultural ambassador, you will be traveling to the US on a government sponsored program, and you will be seen as people's ambassador, or you will be seen as cultural ambassador. So how you can promote the understanding of India in the US, and also you will you will be open minded to learn about the US culture. That means you will be bridging the gaps. You will be bringing cultures together. You will be bringing two countries together. So how you can actually dispel misconceptions and promote understanding, that is something must be reflected in your application. Your communication skills, Gayatri has already spoken about it. It's all about originality, how you are expressing yourself in your own language. Do not use chat gpt or any other mode. Please write your proposal in your own language. Your commitment to community and national service. Fulbrighters are not self-centric. They are change leaders. They think about the society. They are concerned about what is happening around. They have identified the issues and challenges, and they are doing something, whatever small it may be possible, to bring changes. Hence, please highlight that how you have done something for the community development. That will be really appreciated. I will stop here. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. We strongly encourage you to reach out to as many alumni as possible. Today in the panel discussion, we have three who have joined us. On April 21, we had three other alumni from other fields of study. But, I would encourage that please visit our website, look at our community page, and look at the Fulbright Nehru Masters Fellows for last 3 years. We have posted their profiles what background do they have, academic, professional, what is their Fulbright project, where are they studying, what are they studying. So it gives you more insights on who are these successful candidates. Reach out to them. A lot of them, most of them are available on social media. If you want to reach out to anyone specific, you can send us an email and we can share their email ID. It shouldn't be a long list. You should know who you want to contact. So maybe one or two names only, because their contact details are not available on the website. So we please do that exercise, because I think it's very important that you talk to them. Sudarshan and I, or any USIF staff for that matter, we do not read your essays to give you feedback. So alumni are the best people. Again, if you want to share any ideas, concepts, you want to discuss your essays, talk to the alumni. This is the website where you will find complete information on the program, application instructions, checklist. Everything is available. We are very active on all our social media pages: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So today's panel discussion that we just had, we are likely to put that on YouTube next week. But in addition to that, we have done similar panel discussions in last 2 to 3 years, and they are also posted on YouTube channel. So I would again encourage that you may want to visit the YouTube channel and hear those panel discussions also, because there again a different set of alumni were available to share their some of the magical tricks, tips on writing the essays and the other applicants, other application components. Our offices are in Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai. So depending on where you are located, you can reach out to any USIF staff for that matter. Please do post your questions. We can quickly take a few relevant questions. We have only 5 minutes left. And do let us know who this question is addressed to, so that it's easy for me to reach out to that specific panelist. Okay, so we have a question from Aman Singh. Should we focus on universities with strong faculty in our proposed field, or those with track records of hosting Fulbright scholars? So Darshan, do you want to answer this question very briefly? I can repeat it. Should we focus on universities with strong faculty in our proposed field, or those with track records of hosting Fulbright scholars?
I would suggest go and look for faculty who are actually specializing in your area, or who are actually focusing on your study objectives. That will provide you lots of value to your degree program. I would suggest to go for that rather than looking at how many Fulbrighters have gone to a particular institution. Rather look for professors who are specializing and who can actually guide you to further strengthen your area of interest.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Vikram Gopal, you have said a question for Pavni, but I don't see your question. So please type your question so that we can ask this question to Pavni. In the meantime, let me look at the other questions. We have, oops, sorry. Okay. There are a few questions which are related to the reference letters. One is from Sukanya. Can we provide references from professional background only? Is there any mandate to provide it from our college? I can take that question. So most of the US universities do prefer an academic reference. Uh, if you are someone who has stayed in touch with your academic institution, be it your, it should ideally be your recent institution from where you did your undergrad or graduation. So it is preferred. However, depending on what is your professional profile. So if you're someone who has been, out of the academic system for more than 10 years, hasn't stayed in touch, and the kind of work that you do, you think you want to provide all three very strong professional references who will be able to highlight different skill sets, you can do that as well. Now, if a candidate is selected and if and is applying to an institution where the university does ask for an academic reference, then at that stage, we reach out to the selected candidate to request for an academic reference. So at this stage, it is not mandatory. However, it is highly recommended. Okay, now let's look at. Okay, so there are a few questions related to the writing sample. Is the writing sample mandatory? Whether it is, how long the writing sample should be, what is the word limit? Sudarshan, do you want to take this question?
I would strongly recommend to upload the writing samples. These could be your publications. If you have done any publication related to your, proposed area of study, that will be highly appreciated. In case you may not be having a publication, even if you have written for a presentation or conference, you please upload that. The idea is that how you are writing, to get a sense that how what type of work you have done in context of your proposed area of study. And as far as the length is concerned, you know I would suggest that ideally, take for example, if you have written for a newspaper, you can upload that should be fine. It could be around, you know even 2 pages or so. That should be fine. If it is a research paper, we have given space up to 20 pages, but that is too long. It's not about the length, it's about the impact, it's about the type of things that you are doing. That's what the reviewers and the selection committee members would like to see. So it should not exceed 20 pages at under any circumstances, but I would suggest uploading smaller writing samples, smaller in the sense around 3 to 4 pages ideally, that provides or reflects your area of activity and what you have done in context of your study objectives or your proposed study plan. Gayatri, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sudarshan. There's another question which, Sudarshan, I would like you to address. Uh, do the Fulbright or does the Fulbright prefer government employees or people from NGO background?
Should I take this question?
Please do.
Okay, so we do not have any such preference. If you can see that Fulbright is a completely merit-based program, and this is a program that looks for several aspects: what you propose to do, why there is a need for you to go to the US, what you stand for, what is your leadership role, why there is a, you know, what is your plan for next 5 years. These are most important factors that play a vital role in the selection process. So we do not see that whether you are from a corporate sector or from a private sector. But at the same time, I would like to just highlight that for the academic year 26-27, government officials, please read that clause very carefully. Government officials does not mean that if you are working in a university setup, you cannot apply. You can. We are limiting it to the government officers who are like IAS, IPS officers or from the allied services or other bureaucrats who are working with central government or state governments. They are not eligible to apply for a Fulbright-Nehru fellowship program. Hence, please read our clause very carefully, what our definition for government mean, and I have already spoken about it. I just wanted to alert you in context of this question. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. Pavni, this question is for you from Vikram Gopal. I am also targeting the ELOE course, the one that you are doing. Could you provide some insights as to why you chose this program and how you aligned it with your study objective? And also, please accept my request to connect on LinkedIn.
Okay, sure. Thanks, because you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can chat more. But I see that we are running out of time, so I'll briefly tell you. Harvard, the ELOE program at Harvard offers a very, flexible program schedule. Like you can design your own program, and because I come from higher education administration, and it's like a very complex field, and it requires like multiple domains of expertise that you want to learn or gain from your program. So that's one of the reasons that I chose. And the high focus on leadership part, because I am in my career, I am like at a mid career level where I'm still not up in the ladder. So I wanted to focus and hone my leadership skills. That's one of the reasons. And it also gives you a way to explore entrepreneurship opportunities. But when I say entrepreneur, it's not like in terms of how do I do a startup, but the whole thinking, entrepreneurial thinking you can develop while you're working on those entrepreneurship projects. And especially the mindset on, trying fast, failing fast, or trying something new, all those models that you can think and frameworks. And also the other is it had this very unique component of uh, uh, professional learning communities or micro learning communities, where a 4 credit of your program core experience is dedicated to working on your self assessment as a leader. So they talk about 5 leadership competencies, and how these 5 leadership competencies you're tracking them throughout the program, and that's like a 4 credit experience that you have. So these three are the small things or little things that made me choose ELOE program. Other than these experience, the rest of the program, you can concentrate in higher education, choose the papers that you want or the courses that you want that are relevant to your professional goals. But I can talk more about that later. Like, you can connect with me.
Thank you so much, Pavni. There were quick two questions more on the eligibility aspect, so I will quickly talk about it before we close the session for today. Please do check the fields. We are not offering certain fields, and there are a few additions also in the fields. So international affairs is no longer offered this year, at least for 26-27. So be very careful when you're looking at the fields and apply accordingly. Second, if you are planning to resign from your organization, then the employer's endorsement form is not mandatory, but you should clearly say that why you're not submitting your employer's endorsement form. With this, we will come to the close of the session. Some of the questions which are related to eligibility criteria, please reach out to the concerned staff at the different offices depending on where you are located, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. Or you can also send an email to us at masters@usif.org.in. So thank you so much. I thank all the participants and the panelists for joining us for the session today, and keep checking our social media pages for some more updates. Updates on the fellowship programs as well as the stories of our Fulbright scholars. So thank you so much, Pavni, Ashwin, Aisha, and Sudarshan for mentoring the prospective applicants. I really hope that the participants found the session engaging and contributed to their development of ideas for their Fulbright application. So wish you all the best for your application. And Sudarshan and I look forward to reading your Fulbright story. So thank you so much.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.